Hello everyone and welcome to a really awesome game. Round 4 of the tournament Legends vs Prodigies 2025. It is Faustino Oro versus Spanish international master Diego Macias Pino. And both of them are hunting their Grandmaster norms. Faustino still without a single one. He can still become the youngest Grandmaster ever, but he needs to do it sometimes before February next year to take down the record of the youngest ever Abhimanyu Mishra. And Diego already has one Grandmaster norm. He's looking to earn a second one here. But Faustino is in great form. He's on 3 out of 3. And this is an amazing game. You guys will love this one. So let's check it out. Faustino with white opens with pawn to e4. Sorry about that. We have pawn to c5. Diego goes for the Sicilian defense. We have pawn to c3, knight to f6, and pawn to e5. So Alapin countered with knight to f6, and then advancing the pawn to e5. This is the main line. Knight d5, bishop to c4, knight b6 attacking the bishop, and bishop to b3. And most often you will see c4 chasing the bishop down further. But here we have pawn to d6, e captures on d6, and pawn to e6. So this is fairly rare, but now with knight to f3, we just transpose into the regular stuff. We have bishop captures on d6, castles kingside, and knight to c6. Diego very well prepared. You can see that he's spending a little time. Faustino even more prepared. He's burning basically 0 time. We have pawn to d4. First time he actually spent some 4 minutes. We have castles kingside, and now d captures on c5. We have bishop captures on c5, and now queen to e2, avoiding the queen trade as you are looking to claim that d file for your rook. We have knight to d5 and rook to d1, nicely aligning the rook with the black queen. And there is a game sometimes in Linares in 1995 where queen to c7 was played, but here we have queen to b6, and it is now as of move 12 that we have a completely new game. And this is where you have to be really careful. Although players did not just blitz out moves, this is not all theory for them. Obviously, some of the moves were, found over the board as they have burned time on the clock. A mistake that loses the game happens already for black after new position has been reached. Look at this. We have bishop to c2, and now, well, you can continue a lot of ways. For example, pawn to a5 is perfectly fine. But pawn to h6 loses the game on the spot. We're on move 13, and Faustino is now completely winning. How is black lost here? What can white play here to win the game? I've given you a little hint, but I don't know if it's enough. So feel free to pause the video and win the game for Faustino while I give you a couple of seconds. Believe it or not, it is the move that wins pretty much every game, and that is pawn to b4. That could have been prevented with pawn to a5. And Faustino missed it. Both of them missed it, rather. And the reason it wins is that you lose a piece, either the bishop or this knight. You choose. Because if you go back to bishop to e7, okay, then you chase away this knight, and once the knight moves, doesn't really matter where, you just capture on d5, and you take the 2 pieces for the rook, and white is completely winning. There's nothing black can do here. On the other hand, after pawn to b4, you go to d6. It doesn't matter, just pawn to c4, and then you pick up the bishop. Or, you don't do that, and then c5, or whatever. Really, white is again completely winning here. So it's such a, it's one of those moments where you don't expect b4 to be winning, but that's what I would say. If you're playing white, every move you play, you have to check if b4 is winning, because it most often is. It's just, the way chess works. So Faustino played a3, ironically, to prepare pawn to b4, and now we have rook to d8, again allowing it, not stopping it with pawn to a5. So rook to d8, and now pawn to b4. And this is something that you can see, between these gentlemen who are trying to become grandmasters. And for example, Alireza, who was once a 2800 classical player, he will play b4 at the earliest possible moment that the opening allows it. Doesn't matter what opening he's playing. If there's a b4 possible, he will play it. And when we cover an Alireza game, I will show it to you in every game, 100%. So we have bishop back to e7, and now pawn to c4. Okay, Faustino developing well, grabbing more space. We have knight back to f6, and rook captures on d8. We have queen captures. This forces the queen back to the starting square, and now obviously you have to develop and then get the other rook to d1 to earn an extra tempo. We have bishop to b2, pawn to a5, finally going after that b4 square, But now pawn to b5, which would never be possible if pawn to b4 was prevented. We have knight to b8, and now knight b to d2. Here the engine is screaming knight to c3, as much better than knight b to d2. And to my barbarian brain, it certainly does look stronger, as you immediately have rook to d1. But okay, we have knight b to d2, also makes sense. The reason why the engine doesn't like it is because black can avoid going knight b to d7 right away. Black can go bishop to d7, and then after you go knight e4, hoping for captures, you can just go bishop e8 instead of that, and then you bring the knight into the game, and then your position is slightly better than it would be, the other way around. But okay, after knight b to d2, knight b to d7, continuing like nothing has happened, and now rook to d1. We have queen to c7, knight to e4, trying to get that queen to e4 after the knight trade, and you could do it, something like captures, and you bring the knight to f8 to cover h7, but then knight comes to e5, and okay, there's a monster knight on e5. Look at this queen bishop battle, look at the dark square bishop. This is objectively winning for white, and it's very hard to even think of a move for black, probably pawn to a4. But okay, after knight e4, we have king to f8, defending the bishop, and also making sure that knight captures does not come with check, and also if the queen comes to e4, queen h7, if the knight moves, will also not come with check. We have pawn to c5, forcing black to capture on c5, and Diego has to do it. There's really no other move that he can play. He plays bishop captures on c5, which is the best possible scenario for him. Knight captures, queen captures on c5, and now we have rook to c1. And rook to c1 is a nice way to go for fun, as we're analyzing a classical game here. I will show knight e5 because it is much stronger. Point being that now if knight captures on e5 and the bishop captures on e5, you're already threatening bishop d6. That will win the black queen. So you have to go knight d5. This cuts off the rook's influence on the d6 square. And now after queen d3, you will play g6. And now after queen d2, going after this pawn, you will play g5. And again, queen d3. And okay, black maybe can play a little longer with pawn to f6, but it's a very, very bad position for black. So maybe a slight improvement to the immediate rook c1. But okay, they're both getting low on time. Rook c1. And now queen to d6. There actually are no good discoveries here with the bishop momentarily, so you can waste the move to bring the knight to a better square. But okay, queen d6, we have pawn to h3, and now knight to d5. We have queen to d3, preparing to get the queen to h7, and knight 7 to f6, again gaining control of the h7 square, knight e5, and now bishop to d7. And here you should definitely play pawn to a4. With the pawn on a4 and the black not having the option of pushing the pawn to a4, black is really struggling to find a move here. But Faustino goes rook to d1, and now you should play pawn to a4, but Diego goes bishop to e8, and now finally Faustino strikes with pawn to a4. We have queen to e7, and now Faustino is again completely winning. He goes knight g4, and now it's time to bust open black's defenses, and he does it in a most spectacular fashion. We have queen to c7, bishop to e5 challenging the queen, queen to b6, and now queen to a3 with check, king to g8, and now you can win this many different ways, but he does it, I would say, in the coolest way possible. Knight captures on h6 with check, and the point is that if you go to h8, then the queen can come to f8, as the bishop on e8 is preventing the rook from doing anything on the back rank, and after knight g8, of course, you just capture on g7 with checkmate. So after knight captures on h6 with check, g captures was played, and now we have queen to g3 check, king to f8, and now look at this, bishop to d6 check, forcing the knight to block. Otherwise, if you capture, of course, you just win the queen. So knight to e7, and now there's a beautiful mate in 3. I'm sure you see it, but just in case, feel free to pause the video and win the 4th game in a row for Faustino while I give you a couple of seconds. The brilliancy lies along the 3rd rank, as they say. I'm kidding, no one ever said that, but in this game it really does. Bishop captures on e7. Congratulations to everyone who found it. You are a spectacular tactician. King captures, only move, and now queen back to a3. With check, the king can no longer go back to f8, so you have to block with the queen, queen to d6, and now queen captures on d6, and this is now checkmate. So brilliant stuff. It could have ended a long time ago. Like I said, you have to always be careful, even if you know the theory up to this point. H6, it doesn't matter if you're calculating any other move. Just check pawn to b4. If it's possible in your game, check it. It might be winning, and it very often is, as it was in this game. So yeah, game could have really ended on move 13, and at some point, a grandmaster will have to find these things. I mean, you cannot have a b4 on move 13 winning and did not see it. That's completely impossible. But yeah, both of them missed it. So I guess it's one of those blind spots where a case of mutual blindness, if you will, that sometimes happens in chess. But yeah, you have to check pawn to b4 every move, every move that is even when you're playing black, you have to check it. So yeah, big congratulations to Faustino. He goes to 4 out of 4. His rating performance is almost 3,300, I think. Yeah, 3270. And his next opponent is Ilan Schneider. So we'll check probably that game as well. Also an international master looking to get his grandmaster norm. So very much looking forward to it. Can Faustino, finish it with a perfect score or not? We'll see. It's important that he gets his grandmaster norm. And finds moves like b4. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by the youngster, hoping to become the youngest grandmaster ever. I would like to thank John Verriet, Duncan Winecall, Ramesh Sadi, Sanjeev Sharma, and Creators Workshop for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And if you want to get your tactics straight and never miss a b4 in the opening, download Lotus Chess, first link in the description below, and really hone your skill the proper way. See you soon.